Hello, Aleya here. Um, this is a nighttime video, so the quality is not that great in terms of lighting and everything, but I wanted to be kind of semi-productive today. I was sending out emails and things, and I kind of want to create something because I'm not really motivated for music today. Yeah, and I've been rambling, and this is my third attempt. Yeah, I've been rambling about capitalism and climate change and food culture and all these different things. Um, I think I would like to talk about food culture. It's interesting. I was a kid growing up in Jamaica. After school, I remember going out into the neighborhood because it's like very rural and crushing almonds, picking guinea. There were coffee bushes lining the fence beside my school. Neighbors had fruit trees. You could sometimes beg some fruit. I remember, I don't know if this is a clear recollection, but I remember there being a mango grove, and there you can just like literally pick up fruit off the ground, you know. And I I genuinely admire Jamaicans for this kind of respect we have for food, and nature. It's a very green country, and part of it is because we're not developed enough to have, paved over everything, and we don't have, a dense population concentration in most cities or towns. So we still have a lot of open, green, beautiful space, and that's fabulous. Oops, battery's going down. The computer's wheezing. I don't like that. Stop wheezing and chill. This will be asthma pump. What do you? So yeah, in Jamaica we had we have a kind of respect for nature that dates back to the fact that I mean, we've been an agrarian society the whole time. We were former slaves. We were working fields from whenever. So like once we finally got to work fields without whips on our back, we were like, hey, this ain't so bad. This is kind of chill. Hey, okay. So um, we're still quite agrarian, but I mean, we kind of have this changing attitude thanks globalization, whoop whoop whoop, Americanism, where it's like, oh yeah, processed foods are totally great because they have a long shelf life, and who gives a shit about nutrition, right? I mean, it's not that cavalier at all, but we do have like an increasingly terrible food culture. But when I think about my childhood, like it was definitely like a lot of fresh food everywhere. Um, and then when I was like 8, I moved to the States with my mom, and there everything is paved over, and it's, big, huge grocery stores, dollar stores, and fast food. Like those are the food sources. Um, and of course, things have changed now. Like farmers market are a thing that people talk about, but that was not my reality growing up. And food wasn't participatory anymore. Food was not something you could connect to in terms of understanding the world around you anymore. Not for me. When I was a child, my grandma would slaughter chickens. Like I saw that. I saw that. I saw the chickens being raised. I saw them being slaughtered. She wouldn't eat meat for a while after she slaughtered them, but we licked that shit up. Like we ate it up. So I mean, I understood to a certain extent. Certainly, I didn't understand like everything, but I grasped to a certain extent um, a respect for the world around me and the things it could provide. My grandma had a guava tree, she had a cherry tree, she had ackee tree. I'm sure there's breadfruit there. There was a tamarind tree. I loved that tamarind tree because you could like tamarind trees have really tiny leaves, and they're quite lovely. And basically, if you shake the branch, it'll like shower down, so I'd like make it rain on my cousins and stuff like that. So I have really fond memories of being out, outside. And then in the States, like everything was processed and fatty. And when I think about it, it's like all these same ingredients occur in processed meats or preserved meats, cheese, wheat products, or corn products, like, and sugar and salt. Like these are the things, and you just like shove it into the population, and it's many variations. So you have a hamburger, you got cheese, you got beef, processed beef, you got some lettuce and tomatoes for decoration, and then you got this wheat bread, bleached wheat bread. Um, and then you have all these other things, and it's like when you think about that stuff, it's like dead plants and processed stuff. Like everything is just dead and processed to death. And compared to my childhood where things were like plucked fresh, you get your shit from the market, that shit was cut yesterday, fresh, still living, feeding your body, as opposed to this just like diet of death. Like, it sounds really macabre, and I'm not trying to be like this like vegan, vegetarian, raw food kind of person, but honestly, like when you boil it down, it really is like all of these things, just like nothing fresh, nothing alive. And of course, it comes down to your family circumstances, but we were poor as fuck. Like my treats were like these pretzels covered with peanut butter, you know? And it's like dehydrated peanut butter as well. Like, and it's so processed. Like, there are so many chemicals that went into my body from the age of, let's say, 8 until now. That I don't know what they are. You don't know what your food is. That's a trip to me. That's such a trip. But, it's a human need that needed an answer. And, what happens is that, you had the Age of Enlightenment where rationality became king. And then you had industrialization where mechanization was able to carry out rationality with maximum efficiency. And it served capital really well. And so then we developed a society that's just like, well, you know what? We're going to do cost benefit analysis for everything. We're going to give people like the bare minimum that they will accept and no more in order to maximize profit. And so then we have these food systems that are just like so fucked up and fed off death. Just like our energy is based on dead protozoa, and that's oil. And we run everything on like things that died millions of years ago and should have been left alone in their fucking deep, deep graves. And instead we dug up the carcasses of like dead cells of things that were living once upon a time, and we fuel our entire world on death. It sounds really like dramatic, but I'm just using words that have accuracy. I'm just trying to be accurate. And I think a society that thrives on stamping the life out of things has no respect for life. And therefore, the way it carries out its daily activities will reflect this lack of appreciation for life, and that might explain why so many people are anxious or depressed or fucked up about the way that the world is or the way that their lives are, because like there's such a huge disconnect from literally what gives us everything that we need. Because nature is out there doing its thing, and there's so many animals out there like living their lives, and it's a life of fear of the elements, fear of predators. It's not perfect. I'm not going to fall into a naturalistic fallacy and say that everything from nature is perfect and great. but it is what we are adapted to be in. And then we had this rapid urbanization, globalization, capitalization, industrialization, rationalization of the human psyche that like turns us into people who should be rational, despite the fact that our every instinct tells us that, it's not that simple, you know. Emotions shouldn't get in the way of things, but they do. And like my emotions, for me personally, I know that emotions have physical impact. I have that proof. Not everybody does, so they don't really connect it. But like, I've gotten hives that I thought were allergies, but it might have just as easily been anxiety that caused my hives. I definitely had breathing problems because of anxiety. Definitely had heart palpitations because of anxiety. The same way that I get heart palpitations when I drink coffee or like green tea or something. Like there's some teas that are too hardcore for me. It tells you how much of a loser I am. But yeah, like there's such a disconnect. There's such a disconnect. It's crazy. And when I think about the amount of sugar I must have had over my lifetime, the amount of sugar, I will not be one of those crackpot theorists when I've met these people who, like boil down all of life's evils to sugar. Where it's like, oh, we gotta cut out sugar because the kids are bouncing off the walls because of sugar. Like, maybe your kids are shitty. Like, that's also a possibility. Like, maybe they don't know boundaries. Maybe it's not sugar. Maybe they're just like not awesome. And maybe that's your fault and not sugar's fault. That's mean, but it's true. But yeah. Oh my god. I can't believe I just showed you my ashy ass fucking knee. But yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this stuff in multiple different ways, and maybe it'll boil into. How do you use boil as an action for ideas? Boil down to. Maybe it'll boil down to a song. Yo, I got words. I'm good with words. Wait, what does he say? I throw balls far. If you want somebody good with words, date a languager. I love that shit. I love that quote so much. It's hilarious. Yeah, man. We live in a really strange world right now. That we are killing willfully, knowledgeably. But I mean, I think it says something about the nature of everyday life and how hectic it is that people are so desperate to cling on to the small pleasures that they're unwilling to give it up, even with existential threat to the entire species at stake. That's got to be a sign of how miserable we are. Are we miserable? Are we a little bit miserable? Like, are we brave enough to say that, hey, this thing, it ain't no good. It ain't no good. We gotta regroup and rethink, because I'm willing to let this planet die just so I can have some single-use plastic and not have to change my habits and can consume all I want because it gives me the small pleasures. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna be brave enough. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I published this, but yeah. I felt rambly today. I felt a little bit preachy. And since I'm not religious, I have no way to preach but with, like, opinionated facts. All right. Peace.